knew that for me, my journey was different. We all have very unique paths to move on, triggered and tempted and teased by various events in the world, or by our families, or by interactions with lovers, by nature, by freak accidents, by a whole variety of things, spirit talking to us, spiritual awakening. And with regard to family and me and my lineage and everything, I always felt it was really, really important for me to reach that stage of my life having healed a lot of the things inside of me, just knowing my own mind over the years, and being able to sort of pull myself out of what I have and come to terms with recent events and just where I'm at, reflecting as a woman, as we do, as anybody does. Doesn't have to be women, it's just the human aging process, and what we prioritise in our own lives. And for me, it was always really important that I healed anything inside of me before I brought forth a new lineage. There were certain downloads and messages that I've received from spirit and my ancestors about where I'm moving to in the world, in my personal expansion, and this path of spirituality that I dedicate myself to. We dedicate ourselves to if we want to. We are all spiritual beings, and so when we say personal evolution, it really is just a continual, for me, or how I see it, it's a continual spiral path of, occurrences that lead us into the light or into the darkness, into the shadows, and to just keep being reborn and moving around. And wierdos is something, the snake that eats its own tail, is something that's always, as a symbol, visually, aesthetically, because of maybe my past life connections more these days, for me it's a very, very powerful image, what it represents, the number 8. And I always knew that having certain strong women around me that I have observed in my life, friends, and also a few, I guess, mentors over the years who did things a little bit differently and enjoyed their life, independent life, differently to the average person. And I don't want to say average person, because nobody is average, we're all very unique, but that terminology, just the standard, the mainstream. And knew, without saying a thing or revealing my secrets to everybody, because it's really important that we keep things to ourselves, and learn how to share without sharing as such. But having had these really strong, powerful women to observe in my own life and know that things can be done differently, I've always trusted in the evolution of myself, and always wanted to have fun, and I don't have any regrets in my life. There are things that I look back with like a little bit of, oh fucking hell, what do you do that for? But it's kind of usually with that tone, like a silly little girl, like, what's she like? I think my nan used to, when I used to tell her story, obviously things were done very differently back in the day, and she's coming through quite strongly right now, is that when I moved to Italy and when I went to uni and did everything that she didn't have available in her day, and she had 2 sons, I used to tell her stories as a young woman growing up, and she would always say to me, "Carl, you're a girl, aren't you? You're a girl, darling." Because she grew up she raised my dad in a council flat in Highbury and Islington. And I remember my dad always saying that he didn't have a bath in his place. They used to have a tin bath in the kitchen that they would put hot water in and stuff. So having moved my nan's interpretation of the world to then hearing mine, and the opportunity to say, study French and Italian abroad and go and live in Italy and report back. And I still have some of her letters with me, on me at all times, as well as my granddad, for when they wrote to me when I was at Brownies or when I was away. I think she was a very strong woman, but she always used to call me brave, and I think a lot of things back in the day were done in partnerships, just because of the way that like marriage happened, you know, between, gosh, I guess very early, 17 to 22, people were married and in partnerships, and that was never for me. And we all flow how we need to. We all have soul connections with people, whether that's at 15 or 35, and we just make these choices. There is no real wrong choice, because there's a whole heap of lessons and activations that we get from those choices. And anyway, my nan, sorry, that was a huge tangent. Anyway, my nan would always just say to me, cool, you're a girl, aren't you? You're a girl. So looking back at these funny choices I've made in my life, or where I've seen my soul evolve in very wild and chaotic ways to much softer and gentler existence, is I just look back with a smile, because I've got stories. I think life is meant to be lived, and maybe because of my past lives, I've always desired to be an elder. I would always like to be inspiring to those around me. I would always like to something's coming through strong. I would always like to sit by the fireside and tell stories and revive those oral traditions in my own community. And having travelled in Africa quite a lot and to various other places, a lot of old empire stuff, even Italy, you know, has beautiful sort of... I remember eating out in the piazzas at night in Salerno and southern Italy, you know, at night from 7 huge tables where everybody would eat, and there was a real community spirit, and you would see the elders and people interacting differently. And I mean, we're talking 15, 20 years ago, and I trust it still exists in that way, but I'm sure modern times have influenced things in certain ways. But I've always desired to be in a community, because I guess I have known it in a past life. I've always desired to impart love and wisdom. However we interpret that, we've all got wisdom from our different journeys in this physical realm, and as we tap into it from past lives, in our decoding in our DNA and in our cells and in our blood and in our wombs, as women. And I just look back and think I've always wanted to tell stories. I've always wanted to feel connected in that way, this oral tradition of passing things on, because I grew up with such a beautiful group of elders around me that made me feel very safe and loved. And I've always wanted to be that person to anybody in my life. And I have some now as well, but yes, I have, I guess, some back in the days. I have older friends and I have a lot of younger friends. I guess my energy is youthful in ways, but I would always want to... I'd never want to set a bad example, just a real authentic example. And that does matter to me. It might not matter to everybody else, but that does matter to me. And coming back to the original point of like moving into the new times that we're in, is that I really did know deep down that I needed to heal certain things before I moved into new roles in my life. And, you know, with being a woman, obviously our eggs are in the three generation, 3 being quite, well, very, very magical number. And, you know, I was in my grandmother's womb when my mum was in my grandmother's womb. It's, you know, the eggs, women are born with all the eggs they need for a lifetime. So this connection, this ancestral knowledge, this wisdom passed through the female lineage, the mother's maternal lineage, is powerful, and something that I didn't tap into or connect with, didn't know how to, until all of this spiritual awakening happened. But what I was aware of it because of the communities I'd observed when I was travelling. I never felt a sense of urgency to move into new roles in my life as a woman, because spirit has always talked to me, even if I've only ever heard it subtly, whereas now I'm consciously tapping in. Before, there's things acting in the subtle realms and we get guided intuitively, but back then I would never have known to identify it in the same ways that I do now. And I guess, yeah, I share because, you know, no woman has one defined path, and really we do have, as long as we look after our mind, soul and body, which I believe a lot of us are doing more of, and trying to find personal ways to connect with the divine feminine essence, with the Mother Maid Crone, with the triple goddess of archetypes inside, which I will do a little post on soon, is everything happens in its right time, right place. You know, the womb wisdom is powerful, and there are messages and codes that have come through from my grandmother to my mama, to me, my mama bear, to me, and animal guides, spirit animal guides, and other energies that have made sure that me, my body, my womb is in a place of knowingness should I ever decide to move down that route. And I just want to give thanks to the women that they'll know individually. I mean, one or two not in contact with, but it's not out of you know, anything negative. It's just, you know, time moves us all around the globe. And yeah, there were a few women growing up and in the workspace that did things differently, that have inspired me to just be patient and wait for things to unfold and evolve in the ways that are personal to me, without looking at anybody else's journey, but being happy for others as they move through those significant milestones, transitions, rites of passage through their lives. And I've always been a witness. I want to be a witness to that, and I would like to be someone in my community, wherever that ends up being, sort of on. There is a community now, but I guess it's somewhat online because I'm a bit nomadic. But I want to hold space. I want to be a witness. I don't like that word. I would like, my intention is to hold space and be a witness to, like in the tribes, like in old communities across the globe, is that we all had a purpose, have a purpose as children rise and elders fall. And when I say fall, but just transcend, because it's not it's just energy. So they're just moving across realms, across thresholds. And want to give thanks for the women that have inspired me, you know, strong women from mama to, yeah, auntie. Lots of people with very different qualities that now, looking back and how I connect with them, because some have transcended energies that have led me to my fairy elemental connection, to the gardens, to plants, to strong sense of self and sticking up for myself. Mama didn't raise no fool, and although spiritual awakening can bring you into a place where you think, oh, it's all love and light, and the girls go into their soft era, and then people sort of take advantage of that kindness and softness, no, we blend them together. We bring the lioness, and we bring the fairy, and we bring and it was that J.I. John quote, which I think I've mentioned before in a video, is softness and fierceness are not opposed. And we don't need to be a nice girl and do the good girl routine. It's just, we need to be authentic, and with that we deliver our message with love and respect. That's how I interpret it. And we can be as loud as we want, creative and wild and untamed, or mute and silent and disappear for 6 months and then turn up in another part of the globe. So anyway, a little bit of a ramble, but this is for the women. I feel this is for the divine feminine energy and the essence and the healing through our wombs and the ages, and what's come through from our four sisters, four mothers, four aunties and four bearers, because they've paved the way for us, and that energy is really felt. And I have gratefully fallen into this womb healing of mine, and it's powerful. I would never have known to do that had I not stumbled across certain people and this spiritual awakening and spirit. And my nanny knew as well. So yeah, this is for the women. I see you all, respect you, and I just know how hard we all work, and we don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to strive all the time. As we can just be. It's just a beautiful thing to embody the feminine nature, because that energy is needed in the world, and it helps to balance out a lot of the hardness and the harshness that exists. And I love this female feminine energy, which, having been strong masculine leaders in my past, it took me a while to fall into this woman. And I give thanks to all of the mentors and teachers and women around me.